Global wealth has never been higher, yet advanced economies are fracturing under severe polarization and acute cost of living crises. In Canada, an administration managing vast resources is projecting a nationwide shortage of 3.5 million basic housing units by 2030, driving widespread financial anxiety. This chart shows the measurable collapse of civic trust over the last few decades. Looking at voter participation in mass democracies, national turnout has steadily dropped from 63%. Citizens are legally enfranchised, but mechanically forced to choose from a pre-approved list of self-funded individuals looking for a return on their expensive campaign investments. The Open Candidacy with Weighted Voting System, or OCWVS, is an alternative model designed to completely bypass this trap. Rather than trying to elect better politicians, the model engineers corruption out of the system. It achieves this by shrinking political boundaries to match human biological constraints and replacing flat voting with qualitative intellectual metrics. To understand how this works in practice, we have to trace the mechanics of this proposed framework from its foundational microcommunity up to the formation of a decentralized 5-member executive assembly. True accountability is impossible in a crowd of 50,000. It requires absolute daily personal familiarity between the voter and the candidate. This line graph maps the Dunbar Principle, an evolutionary rule defining the biological limit on the human brain's ability to maintain stable, high-trust social relationships. As constituency size increases on the x-axis, perceived trust drops sharply. The OCWVS model leverages this cognitive ceiling by hard capping the base political constituency at exactly 40 households, roughly 150 individuals. At this specific scale, mutual trust peaks. In a community this compact, public relations spin fails. Voters judge an individual's character, familial conduct, and financial honesty strictly through inescapable daily mutual affairs. Shrinking the political arena to match the biological limits of the human neocortex is the necessary first step to eliminate the anti-entity that allows corruption to hide. With the boundaries set, the system applies its next strict constraint: zero self-candidature. No individual is allowed to nominate themselves, print promotional materials, or spend a single dollar soliciting votes. Eradicating the multi-million-dollar industry of campaign financing immediately breaks the operational link between capital and political authority. Next, the model discards the standard 51% majority rule. Winning an election by a single percent mathematically requires leaving 49% of the population frustrated, defeated, and unrepresented. Instead, an individual only becomes a community representative when 95% of the 40 households reach a unified consensus. Because candidates cannot seek the office themselves, the community effectively drafts a representative they have collectively vetted. By requiring almost total consensus, the system selects for individuals whose chaste character and history of service are already recognized by nearly every neighbor. The mechanical dilemma here is how 40 diverse households can consistently achieve a 95% agreement. The traditional one-person, one-vote metric assigns equal decision-making power to a highly experienced administrator and a citizen with zero civic awareness, a flat mathematical structure that ignores cognitive reality. This stacked bar chart visualizes the framework's qualitative weighted voting. Every adult is allocated a single baseline vote, but individual voting power can be mathematically scaled up. Additional weight is specifically awarded based on proven societal contributions. A voter holding formal university degrees or possessing mid-level professional experience receives extra blocks of voting power. Senior administrative tenure, advanced academic achievements, and significant economic tax contributions stack this power further, allowing highly qualified individuals to control up to 7 total votes. Distributing electoral weight structurally defers the community's ultimate choice to its most educated and experienced minds, providing the gravity needed to reliably lock in that 95% consensus. With the base unit functioning, these isolated 40-house clusters must be networked into a broader civic architecture. This pyramid chart details the geographic integration role. Exactly 4 distinct micro-communities merge, creating a combined local jurisdiction of 160 houses. The 4 newly elected community representatives convene and evaluate one another. Through direct peer review, they identify the single most capable administrator among them and elevate that person to the role of town representative. Because that elevation leaves one local district unrepresentative, that specific neighborhood simply holds a new election to draft a replacement. The final result is a fully formed 5-member executive assembly. This tiered flow forces candidates to survive a face-to-face review by peers who know them personally, rather than appealing to mass audiences through media-driven rhetoric. Once seated, this new assembly operates under a strict operational constraint. They have zero authority to levy, administer, or collect any local taxes. Concentrated pools of unearned tax revenue create a financial incentive for individuals to capture political offices for personal enrichment, driving systemic inequality. Local capital is managed instead through a decentralized framework called the daily finance distribution system. 30% of a business's localized surplus is circulated directly from high earners to lower-income neighbors, bypassing state bureaucratic intervention. Because the daily survival of the community is tied to the success of local entrepreneurs, the neighbors act as an unpaid security force for those businesses. In place of traditional jails, the assembly maintains order through social boycotts and a strict eviction protocol for those who commit crimes. By permanently decoupling the local assembly from massive tax pools, their operational purpose is forced back to its origin: pure community facilitation and interpersonal conflict resolution. The final mechanism of this blueprint targets the term limit trap. In modern mass democracies, once a candidate is seated, they are virtually immune to removal until the next multi-year election cycle arrives. To counter this, the framework implements a continuous de-election protocol. The 40 households hold the permanent right to instantly revoke their 95% consensus at any given moment. Because these representatives spent $0 getting elected and serve a highly concentrated neighborhood block, removing them requires no formal state apparatus. It costs the system nothing to reset. The OCWVS framework proves that systemic political corruption is not an inevitable byproduct of human nature. It is a strictly mechanical flaw in how mass democratic systems are engineered. By scaling political boundaries to biological limits, deferring to intellectual experience, and applying instant accountability, governance can be pulled back from a profitable career and restored to an observable, verifiable public service.